Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. This is episode number 159. It's a midweek. I'm your host, Real_G Warner. It's a midweek match day, I guess, across the European soccer leagues. Going to go through the English Premier League, as there are a couple makeup matches from, I think, when the Queen died a long time ago. There's Copa del Rey in Spain. Serie A has some Coppa Italia, but I couldn't fit that because there's only so many characters I can use in the software. And last I put on there some FA Cup replays because there's some pretty big names out there that drew in the third round, I guess, initial set of play. As always, I'm going to go through and try to grab a best bet from each of these areas and then find an ultimate best bet, which I'll give end of show. We'll also throw out, read the most recent 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you if you're listening on there. Please do me a favor and give me some sort of love on there. 5-star review and some sort of comment or description of why you like the podcast would be awesome. As I scramble to try to put my stuff on Do Not Disturb mode, and if you're on Spotify, same thing would be really helpful there. Haven't run out of 5-star reviews on Spotify just yet. So I will be, I'll be rocking the Apple Podcast until that happens, but we'll then look to Spotify. If you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. That'd be really helpful as well. Okay, so without further ado, all lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. It's my favorite place to get my bets down early or late because reduced juice is offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. I would say, as I said in the last episode, usually I'd put a bet in 2 minutes before the game starts just in case, because unfortunately sometimes you run into some time crunches and they take some lines down or lock some numbers. So we'll be careful about that, but just so you know, and please follow the link found in the podcast description below to fund your account. And use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. So now that you have all this extra money, let's figure out how to turn that into even more cash. And the first matchup or first game we're going to look at for that one is in the Premier League. We have Crystal Palace hosting Manchester United. This is a Wednesday match. Starts at 2 p.m. Central Time here in Dallas, Texas. And Crystal Palace are currently a 3/4 goal underdog with all the juice right now. Over under is 2.5. And Crystal Palace are in dire straits at this point. Manchester United coming off an absolute smash and grab steal of victory. I'll get into that in a second, especially because Man City also play on Thursday. But Crystal Palace, they're a really great home team. They are. And the home road splits are significant. Unfortunately, Crystal Palace, I think they're going to have to score a goal here to hang around with Manchester United, because I don't think Manchester United is getting shut out. I don't think Crystal Palace can keep a clean sheet. And I think Manchester United can get 2. So that's a problem for an underlean potentially that I usually have because I'm dogs and unders at this point. But Crystal Palace, they're going to have to ride that crowd and actually show something from their football, which they haven't in a while. I don't know if there's going to be pressure on Patrick Vieira. If there already is, there may be. They got a couple big wins on the road, which was unexpected for a team that was been so bad away from home. But their performances of late have not been good. Goals have completely dried up. I mean, the Zaha connection with Olise hasn't worked. I mean, pretty much Mateta has done nothing ever since being such a good goal scorer at Mainz in Germany. I wish he would have stuck around there, but I think he was looking for more money or something like that. Anyway, just from my perspective, Crystal Palace are in real danger, and I'm looking to bet against them as a favorite. Don't have that option here. I don't think I want to back them as an underdog, even if this does hit the +1 goal of insurance. Now, I don't think it'll get there based on where the juices are right now, but certainly the feelings around the world and the betting markets in the Premier League have to be negative towards Crystal Palace. So I think this line will only climb from here. But moving from 3/4 of a goal underdog at home with all the juice to a +1 seems very unlikely. And even if it does, it's probably a very high juice at that. Now, Manchester United, I mean, should not have won this match last weekend. Manchester City was completely crestfallen after conceding a goal that should never have stood. Referees are a joke. I mean, Tim Howard after the match, who's usually pretty even keeled and used to play for Manchester United, was very clear about how Marcus Rashford definitely got in the way of defenders and affected everyone. And Akanji slowed down. I mean, it's incredible that they let that stand. Bruno Fernandes just yelling at linesmen was enough to get them to change their minds, which is insane that they didn't even have a look at it. I mean, it just kind of, it's really sad. I mean, Rob Pizzola says a lot on Twitter about how we bet this league, the NFL, but considering how few goals are scored in soccer, it's really, really tough. If you're on the right side of it, it's great. Unfortunately, there's so many times that it happens that it's very unlikely you'll always be on the right side. However, in terms of Crystal Palace, Manchester United, the only thing I'll go or lean toward is Crystal Palace as the home underdog and to under 2.5. But I don't feel very good about Crystal Palace until I get +1, and I don't think I'll get that. And as for under 2.5, Palace just don't really seem like a team that are going to score, which is great for unders. But unfortunately, that gets really ugly, especially if Manchester United have a counterattacking type of style already with some goals in the bag already. I just don't know if that I love that too much, but it's probably under 2.5 is the strongest lean I'd have for that one. Moving to Thursday, Manchester City hosting Tottenham, currently Man City, a 1.5 goal favorite. Over under is 3. All the juice currently on Tottenham and a little bit more juice the over right now. Tottenham with a pretty ho-hum nothing performance really in the North London derby, the biggest match of their year, essentially at home hosting Arsenal. Not sure where Harry Kane was the whole game. Don't think it was completely his fault. Just that team just doesn't, they seem dead to me. I want to be against them as a favorite, similar to Crystal Palace. Don't have that option here. And they're going to the toughest place to play in all of the Premier League, besides maybe Arsenal because of the rivalry. But Man City have to kick this in gear, and they haven't been doing it. A really bad loss in the Cup midweek to Southampton on the road. They did rotate, but still played some important players, which is not a good sign. And then losing the Manchester derby to Manchester United when they're 1 goal ahead and had all the possession, and then one bad call, goals change games, blah, blah, blah. Pretty sad story. In the past, I'd be really interested in backing Tottenham here because they're going to sit back, defend, and make it really hard for Manchester City to score. Problem is, I don't think Tottenham has enough defenders really, or good enough defense to make that even feasible. The nice part for Manchester City, though, with his spread is they have to win by 2 goals to beat you. And where are Manchester City getting 2 goals? I mean, Kevin De Bruyne, ever since I brought him into my FPL team, sorry, everyone, but he's done nothing except for an assist in that last matchup. And that's clearly not what I've been paying so much money for. Erling Haaland has kind of been, he's disappeared. I think people have, and really a lot of the teams in the Premier League credit them for watching tape. I mean, it's not that hard, but they figured out how to defend him. The long balls don't exist, and he's just not, it's not the same team, Borussia Dortmund, who just literally lived to set him up. And certainly he's running at Bundesliga defenders, which is very different than the Premier League. There's a lot better, I mean, better paid players in defense. There's better managers in this league based on the efficient market hypothesis. Of course, there should be because there's so much money in England in this sport, but he hasn't done a lot. And so I guess I'm more and more interested in Tottenham and to that under, those correlated together because the fewer goals better for the under and also better for the underdog. How do Tottenham score here? I think it's on the counterattack when Man City are pushing their wingbacks, essentially playing as central midfielders. Sonny's pace, though, he's getting older, doesn't really seem to be showing up too much in these matches. I mean, I feel like it's like a Harry Kane dropping in defense in like a central attacking midfielder role instead of the striker position, and then feeding a ball out on the wing and then Sonny running onto it and then finding Kane again or another player crossing the box is like the only way Tottenham can score. Really bad as a favorite, I got to say. Not so bad as an underdog, and especially one of this size. And based on Man City's struggles, I think it wouldn't hurt to back Tottenham here just based on any team playing City right now and fading City. Scary thing to say considering they're one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. I think I probably would say the best right now, despite what they've been doing in the Premier League. Problem is, I just don't know that I trust Tottenham too much, and they're going into a really tough place to play on a really short week, and hopefully they have some good motivation after really getting embarrassed by Arsenal and that weird kerfuffle / fight at the end of the game from Richarlison. Hopefully no suspensions there, but Kulusevski coming into the lineup was good. I mean, seeing less of Bryan Gil is important because he hasn't really turned on or turned up in this league at all. But I got to say, it's like a scary proposition. It is a huge number though. 1.5 is gigantic. I can't imagine that I had that number when I was making this one. So, and that was done, I guess, before these matches all happened. But I mean, yeah, I don't think I had anywhere near that number. I was less than a goal. So, 1.5 is gigantic. So I guess to summarize my, as I'm clearly way off, and I guess that wasn't considering what happened this past weekend. Man City should be angry. Tottenham should be angry. Is one anger better than the other? I'm not sure. Man, I just that's tough to really even think about, because ultimately, where did 1.5 come from? Honestly, that's really bizarre to me. So I clearly lean to Tottenham, and I guess I'm more interested in it as I talk more and more about it. It's really hard to buy low in sports betting, though, I got to say. But this is one of those where maybe it makes some sense. So I guess to summarize, Crystal Palace, I'm not really that into. I got to say, under 2.5 maybe on that one. But Tottenham plus 1.5 is a huge number. I like under 3. There's some safety there too. Probably a little more safety is a 2-0 result for Man City. We'll still win you that under, but we'll lose you Tottenham. So I think under 3 is probably the one I like most in that one. I'll move now to the FA Cup and see if there's anything worth talking about. On Tuesday, tomorrow we have Wolves hosting Liverpool in a replay. Wolves a 0.5 goal underdog with all the juice right now. Over under is 2.75. Big questions about what this lineup situation is going to look like for both of these teams. Liverpool with just a no-show completely on the road at Brighton. Credit to the EPL market. Well done. Clap it up for them. Making Brighton such a small underdog to Liverpool at home was surprising to me, especially considering how Brighton had done in that same situation against Arsenal. But now we've seen the difference between Liverpool and Arsenal. Now Liverpool go on the road. They just drew this match. That's why it's a FA Cup replay. Because for some reason you don't go to penalty kicks and they need to play another match. Because Liverpool, I'm sure Jurgen Klopp's complaining about another 90 minutes he's got to play. But I got to say, Wolves have completely turned the corner under Julian Lopetegui. Won and under on them this weekend, and they were so good. I mean, certainly playing a bad team like West Ham is not a huge thing at this moment, at this point in time. But I really love what Wolves have been doing. I love Lopetegui. He got out of Sevilla as he needed to, though it wasn't by his choice. But I think Wolves are in great position to take this to Liverpool. Big questions about what these lineups are going to look like, especially because Wolves are at the bottom of the table and are fighting to be safe. So they're probably more likely to rest important players than Liverpool are. But I gotta say, I like Wolves getting that 0.5 goal, and I'm pretty interested in that at the moment. Swansea, Bristol City, don't have much to say about Wigan, Luton Town. Accrington and Boreham, don't even know what leagues they're in. Forest Green and Birmingham, okay. To advance line, I guess I can give you on Liverpool minus 185, or Wolves are plus 155. Definitely lean to Wolves there. I feel like this is much closer to a 50% than what that's saying, I think. And then West Brom, Chesterfield. I mean, okay, I don't know. And then last, Leeds, a 1.5 goal favorite to Cardiff City, but they're at home, so that's a big advantage. I don't know who Leeds are beating by more than 2 goals or by 2 goals anywhere right now. So I think the strongest one, and really the only one to talk about in the FA Cup, I think, is Wolves plus that 0.5 goal. I don't really know if I feel that strongly about unders, which is scary if you're backing an underdog. But Liverpool's defense, especially with Van Dijk hurt, has looked bad, and he's a Marshall back there, which certainly wasn't as fast as he had been anyway. There's a lot of problems in Liverpool right now. I mean, bringing in Cody Gakpo seems like they needed a lot more at other positions, but I guess with Darwin Nunez hurt, I mean, I don't know. Just a lot of these, it's amazing the transfer market. Everyone buys wingers, and like, how many wingers can you play at the same time? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I guess to summarize, or I'll summarize end of show after the 5-star review reading, and then get you an ultimate best bet. So from there, I'm going to move now to the Copa del Rey. And currently we have, Real Sociedad, the first matchup, hosting Mallorca. Currently Real Sociedad, a 1-goal favorite. Over under is 2.25. Real Sociedad with a huge win, the Derby Vasco this weekend. That certainly could cause some concern, problems about seeing how ready they'd be for this one, but they're staying home. That's huge. Mallorca had a tough loss in the Basque Country at Osasuna. That was the same day on Saturday. I don't think they'd probably stick around, but maybe they would instead of flying back to the island. Mallorca is going to set up really defensively and try to keep Sociedad from scoring. I really like that for a +1 for sure. I went to this match, actually the exact teams in the same stadium, and there was no goal until the 94th or 95th minute. This was 2 years ago, so the Real Sociedad team is a lot improved since then. I think Mallorca is a lot better as well, and that makes this game a lot more competitive, though that was about as competitive as you can be. I think I like under 2.25 the best in this matchup, because Mallorca are going to sit in a 5-4-1. Javier Aguirre, the Mexican manager, is going to do everything he can to stop Real Sociedad. I still don't really believe in their offense completely. Took a pretty soft penalty, I thought, for Real Sociedad to get 3 goals in their last match. It could end 2-0 and still you win a little bit of money and you win half a bet on under. So I lean to Mallorca as well. And I think my best history, I think, is when I lean to a dog and an under. I love to play both of them and win both of them. But I don't know that I necessarily want to do both in this one because I'm a little concerned about Real Sociedad winning 2-0. But I think under 2.25 is an extra goal and a quarter to play with, considering this might be a goalless draw through a long time of this match. Next on Tuesday is Alaves hosting Sevilla. Currently, Alaves a half a goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.25. And I just don't really get why Sevilla is a favorite at any point right now. But considering their incredibly bad defense, Nianzou playing on loan, I think from Bayern Munich, he is incapable. And like, I know they tried to bring in a central defender from Turkey who hasn't been healthy for more than like a match or two this whole season. Maybe that's why Lopetegui got canned. But they essentially, Sevilla sold their defense. They kind of had to do it, but they did, and have replaced it with just joke players, unfortunately. Young players that really have no idea what they're doing, and it cost them a match. It's why they're in the relegation zone. They deserve to be there. As for this match, Alaves are a second division team, and they have been around the Premier League for a long time. They still have some of their defenders still around. But the best part about this is I just don't know how Sevilla are going to score goals. I mean, Nianzou did score basically cost them the game, but also scored a goal earlier to level it out. So maybe it wasn't all on his shoulders, although he made a huge mistake early that could have been a goal that somehow wasn't, thanks to his goalkeeper. But Sevilla going on the road as a favorite doesn't make sense to me. I don't like that. So Alaves getting half of a goal, assuming they care and put out a lineup they like care about and put guys out there that are somewhat close to a level of the Premier Division, which they were in last season. They sold a lot of players, certainly, but if they're putting their captain LaGuardia in there and other players like that, then I really like Alaves, and that half of a goal. Also, the under 2.25 it kind of sticks out to me as well. Moving to Wednesday, we have Sporting Gijon and also Valencia. Currently, Valencia half a goal favorite on the road, all the juice in the home team. And over under is 2.25. Hard to see a Valencia total at 2.25, considering how little defense they play. Gijon are in Segunda División, and ultimately I have not followed them this season, so hard for me to say too much about them. But I don't necessarily believe in Valencia's defense, so it makes it really hard for me to want to really back them. So I lean to the home dog, of course, and to that under 2.25. But I don't even know if I can trust Valencia to not concede a goal to a lower division team because their defense has been so problematic. Athletic Club then hosts Espanyol. Currently, Athletic Club a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now. This is a big bounce back opportunity for them. Espanyol with a road win at Getafe over the weekend, which was great. Over under is 2.25. Juice to the over right now, which is surprising because there's not a lot of goals in either of these teams. I think San Mamés will be rocking, as it always is, but that hasn't really been too difficult for opponents to go in there and keep Athletic Club off the scoreboard. I lean to under 2.25. I don't really know why it's even odds at the moment, because I feel like the risk is for players to be rested, and they're usually attacking ones. And I don't really know where 3 goals come from in this one, especially as this climbs to 2.5. I get even more and more interested. Next, we have Levante hosting Atletico Madrid. Levante, another team that got relegated last season, probably because of the worst defense in like La Liga history. Went to one of their matches that had 8 goals in it in Sevilla. Ultimately, Levante 3/4 goal underdog is the same number that Atleti laid to Girona, or excuse me, to Almeria on the road this weekend, which was absolutely ridiculous. I will take it because it was a really nice under and underdog victory. 2-0 in a game is pretty hard to do, but it was awesome, especially considering they went behind early to a great goal by Atleti. But I don't really see that happening. Levante, unfortunately, in this one, under 2.25, normally in an Atleti match, I think that's a reasonable idea, especially because they love getting guys sent off, and that really hurts them as the favorite in most of their matches, / almost all of them. But it's Levante or nothing for me at home. I want to see if this number climbs to maybe a +1, because Levante has gone for the youth movement. A lot of their older first-team players and strikers have moved on to Villarreal, to Elche. So this is not exactly a Premier Division team that's just trying to get right back. But I think they showed against Getafe, going behind twice and still winning the match in regulation, that they can do it. And Atleti are a team I want to be against. I don't know that lower division, Segunda División competition is good enough, but it might be. And I'm looking to be against Diego Simeone, who just looks like he's trying absolutely everything with no real clue what to do. Last on Wednesday is Real Betis hosting Osasuna. Currently, Betis a half goal favorite at home. Over under is 2.25. Should be a huge atmosphere. And Osasuna played better this weekend, but ultimately didn't do enough, really. Did enough to win, but didn't do enough to, I guess, change my opinion. I still think Osasuna are a team that really can't score goals. I thought that improved the season, started off really well, but a lot of home matches against bad teams will do that. I'm not really a believer, and the slime feels pretty small to me, I got to say, especially really juiced to Osasuna on the road. Maybe that says Real Betis is not playing their top lineup, but they are so experienced. Pellegrini's been playing like half of his team in Europa League or in some European competition. I think it was Europa League, and half of his team in La Liga, and he's done awesome. Won Copa del Rey last year. I mean, that's not a guy I really want to go against right now. I love Real Betis as an underdog on the road. Maybe I love him because they hit me in the shoulder with a cigarette, but it was an awesome time at the Benito Villamarín, and I respect them a ton. So I'm not really looking to go against them. And I feel like in their matches, they score a ton of goals because they have a good offense. They have a lot of good players and a huge crowd behind them. So over 2.25 is probably the way I lean, which is surprising and probably can't do that with Osasuna, but I think there's not much for me to do in that one. Moving to Thursday, Club Atlético de Ceuta, I believe how to pronounce that, hosting Barcelona. Should sell a lot of tickets for this one. 2.5 goal underdogs at home, all the juice in Barcelona, so likely climbing. Over under is 3.5. Barcelona looked awesome against Real Madrid. I feel like if Benzema scores in the Super Copa in de Saudi Arabia, whatever final, de Arabica, then maybe things are different. But certainly when Benzema's missing headers and Real Madrid can't do anything else, I mean, Barcelona were great. They can name their price in this one. I don't know what to do. And last is Villarreal hosting Real Madrid. Villarreal, a 1/4 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.75. We just saw this match like last weekend, and Villarreal were way better the whole time. Somehow they got to 3 goals. I don't think that was deserved, but Villarreal, I think, took the lead twice. As a home underdog, Real Madrid, unfortunately, they have looked like a shell of themselves. And if Karim Benzema is not finishing easy chances, then I don't really know what to say about Real Madrid, because they've shown without him and without him playing well, they have no offense whatsoever. Vinny Jr. is great, but literally did nothing against Barcelona. And then I was really unimpressed by them in the first round of the Supercopa. So, and then who knows about what Saudi Arabian travel, diet, all that sort of stuff does when they come back to Spain. But then they got to go to Villarreal, who have a new stadium, which has way bigger capacity, a huge home crowd that had to miss out in the whole first half of the season. I like Villarreal. As soon as I see Gerard Moreno in that lineup, Moreno, he's someone they need to protect, and I'm worried that they wouldn't use him for this one potentially. But this is about the same line we saw at Villarreal. If they're playing what they should be playing as a good lineup for Copa del Rey, then I like Villarreal, especially as a home dog, because Real Madrid just haven't shown it. So to summarize, I think my favorite bet ultimately for the Copa del Rey, which we'll eventually get into my ultimate best bet, I'm going to give... Man, there's so many choices. I mean, I'm going to have a very busy week writing these things up, because there's probably going to be a lot of plays that come out of me. Hopefully for a good thing, because I had a very good weekend. I'm going to say, man, I'm really tempted. I'm going to go with Alaves plus half of a goal at home against Sevilla. It's a little risky because I'm not sure what that what that lineup is going to look like. Actually, I'll go under 2.25 in that matchup. Clearly, I like the home dog as well, but I think there's a little more safety under 2.25 for Alaves and Sevilla. I just don't think Sevilla, even against an inferior team, I don't think they got enough in their team to score goals at this point. So I don't really trust them. And if I were you, I wouldn't trust them either. Last but not least, before we get to the 5-star review reading, and then also we'll get into the ultimate best bet and the show. Thanks for hanging around. Dang, we don't have a ton of lines for the Coppa Italia. Well, that's very disappointing. Let me see if I can then, since I only really want to record this once, let's see if I can come up with some things. First, we have Napoli Cremonese. Napoli, a 1.75 goal favorite. Over under is 3.25, and that's a lot because of how well they played against Juventus. Didn't see 5 goals going in for Napoli. I'll put it that way. Cremonese are going to go in there to Napoli, the Lions' Den. Didn't get to play Friday, and then have to travel. That's a pretty tough break for Cremonese, newly promoted, to go into the Lions' Den of a team that, even if they weren't top of Serie A, that has throttled, destroyed whatever adjective you'd like to use in the past. That's scary. 1 3/4 doesn't feel like enough to me. Maybe it climbs to 2. The juice doesn't suggest it will, but maybe it will. Over under 3 1/4. I mean, I almost want to say this goes over, and that might be with Cremonese not giving any sort of help. I want to say that Cremonese played Monza pretty early on Saturday morning, but like giving Napoli an extra day to rest, and they're at home for Juventus anyway. That's tough. Yeah, I think that's how it went. So things are not looking great for Cremonese. I'll put it that way. I'm sorry for them. Spezia, half a goal to Atalanta, lean to Spezia. I mean, Atalanta were awesome. Market loved them this weekend. They rolled over Salernitana. I think scored 7. If at least that's when I turned it off. That's not a great sign, but Spezia have been playing great. I think they can really make it hard on Atalanta, but I probably want to get more than a goal there, or at least get a goal there. I'm not seeing it right now. Bologna 1 1/4 goal underdog. They've had a really tough time lately. I'm just throwing out my numbers out there, and I think these were made really before the match kicked off this weekend. But Bologna Lazio, Bologna's unfortunately with Sinisa Mihailovic's death, it's been really, really sad, but they haven't really been able to do much offensively. That's really scary to do in a cup tie, but over a goal, that might be interesting. I do have a line for the Super Coppa in Saudi Arabia, of course, because the Saudis are just completely washing themselves and their murdering tendencies of journalists as much as they can, bring all these teams in. Monza, a 1 goal underdog. I believe that's against Juventus on Thursday. Let me just make sure that's right. Yes, it is. Monza's been playing great. I'm hoping this number will be higher than that because Juventus has the big name, and Monza nobody knows except from recent stories of their owner or someone saying that they'll buy prostitutes if they beat Juventus. Respect that. If that's what you're into, do it. But I like the full goal of insurance that I'm projecting. Potentially could get more of that. Very interested in that. Worry a little bit about Juventus's defense. It had been Loctite at a long scoreless streak until Juventus went to Napoli. They are Juventus, sorry. It's possible that gets set back and that one bad performance really changes things, but I think they return probably to their defensive ideals. And Monza is not exactly the same offensive threat. They don't have anybody like Victor Osimhen. And last but not least, I'll go the Italian Super Cup. The Super Coppa Italia is AC Milan and Inter Milan in Riyadh, I believe. Currently a pick'em right now with most of the juice or all the juice right now. And Inter looks like that's going to trend towards 1/4 goal. Over under is 2.5. Depends how much they care about this matchup. It seemed like the Spanish teams did, or at least said they did, for winning a trophy, blah, blah, blah. But like when you win a million trophies, I don't know, like if the Super Coppa that exists because of, I mean, I guess they play them in other leagues, but anyway, it doesn't matter too much to me personally. But I guess maybe if they're out there, it does. I lean to AC Milan. I hope that this climbs to 1/4 goal underdog because Inter have been really struggling just in general, but also struggling to close games. They've been getting a lot more from Lautaro Martinez right now, and maybe that's a good thing, but I just not really a believer in them whatsoever. Over under is tough to say. I think both these teams, they usually play a really tough game together, so I'd lean under, but I can certainly see some goals being scored. And I just really want to back Rafael Leao is essentially how this goes. So keep Inter Milan money coming in, and I would love to see that because I think that we will find some ways to win some money, and especially if this goes to extra time, you win half your bet. So hopefully this climbs. So now we've reached the point of the show where I read a recent 5-star review. This is from Mortal Locks. Wish you'd share those mortal locks with me, the title is 5-star, so following directions, appreciate that. Griff puts the time into his research and very successful conservative soccer capper, and it pays off more times than not. Recommend you listen. Thank you, Mortal Locks. That's really all I'm trying to do. Well, as I've said before, this is really helpful for me to get kind of my thoughts out there, and I think it really brings me to playing things I wouldn't have thought of, and also skipping things I thought I was going to play. And anything I can do to help all of you, certainly what I'm hoping to do as well. And thank you. I will continue to read 5-star reviews until I run out of them on Apple Podcasts. Got some more left, but please feel free to send as many as you'd like. And I'll switch over to Spotify and to YouTube comments and things like that once I get done with these, unless I get so many that I keep doing it. So if you got any questions there as well, I'd love to answer them. And it's a one-man band, so hard to really do more than that. But if you got things, send them through, and I'll certainly answer them in the next podcast or whenever I see them. And I guess now it's time for my ultimate best bet. Please follow me on Twitter, the real_G Warner. Also putting these out in reels on Instagram, which is a work in progress to say the least, but here goes. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That'd be great. And as I said, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So for this is Betting the Pitch episode number 159. Here's the ultimate best bet. We're going to pick one of my favorites from the three leagues. So I'm very interested in AC Milan, but I want them to climb to a quarter of goal underdog before I play that in the Super Coppa Italia. I think my favorite in the FA Cup is Wolves plus 1/2 of a goal. I really love their chances against Liverpool. I'm a little bit concerned about their who plays and what these lineups look like because they change so much for the cup. But I think my ultimate best bet will be from Spain, the Spanish Copa del Rey. And I'm going to go, just like I said a few minutes ago on the long-winded podcast, I'm going to go under 2.25 in the Alaves Sevilla match. I just feel like that one is, there's not a lot of goals coming out of Sevilla. They're the better team here, and I don't really believe in them. So might as well play Alaves against the spread as well, but I'll go under 2.25 Alaves Sevilla as my best bet, the ultimate best bet for this episode. Okay, and then that will probably do it for this episode. If you guys got any questions, feel free to slide in some DMs, the real_G Warner on Twitter. That's probably where I'm most active. If you're following along on pregame.com, I appreciate the support. Still continuing to put things out overnight with the idea that that'll at least give everyone the ability to play the stock market if you want to. That's one of my favorite parts of this game. That we call sports betting, sports prognostication, whatever you want to call it. That'll do it for episode 159. Come back for 160. That'll be this weekend, potentially live from Vegas. So if anyone's out there, love to grab a beer or something like that, water, or whatever you like. And I'm not a coffee drinker, so anything, maybe even some dessert, But anyway, the real_G Warner on Twitter, hit me up, and I'll talk to you all very soon.